Awesome. Hey, everybody. Hey, it's the panel. Sorry, I'm holding a laptop. This is like my timer. Awesome. Okay, so this is Queerly Creative. We have an awesome assortment of creatives who are forefronters. And we are going to talk about making art, queer visibility in art, especially as people coming from Christian backgrounds of all sorts. We're going to go around and introduce ourselves really quickly. I'm Amanda. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I have like a BFA in acting, but I just make films now. I just shot a short film. I don't know why that was funny. I just shot a short film, actually a little bit outside of here, which was really fun having people be extras and help out. How about we just start over here with Laur?
I am Laur Jerlin. My pronouns they, them, theirs. I am a freelance artist and fabricator, and I just graduated from FIT with my BFA in Fine Arts. Thank goodness. But yeah, I'm just starting out in this career path, so we'll see how it goes.
Hi, my loves. Good morning. My name is Brett Bainer, pronouns he, him. I'm an actor, singer, producer, currently. What's up? Currently launching a web series that I'll talk about in a little bit called Free Bretney. We're set to film next year, doing a little festival route for a little bit, and then releasing to YouTube. So I'm extremely excited to talk about it and be here with you guys.
Hi everyone, my name is Hanif, pronouns he, him. I'm a junior architect and a filmmaker. I do photography as well. Some of the subjects that I explore are identity, migration, what does it mean to be queer or belong in spaces we don't belong. That's a little bit about me.
Beautiful.
Good morning. My name is Joel Richardson. I was like trying to think of what to say here, and my Instagram bio says queer, mystic, and muse, because I can't decide on just like 2 to 3 well-branded things to latch onto. But I'm an actor and a singer and a writer, a theater maker. I'm also, I practice and study astrology and meditation and ancestral remediation and veneration, which all informs my spiritual and artistic practice. So I'm grateful to be here with y'all.
Hi, my name is Jules. I use they, them pronouns. And I'm a filmmaker, predominantly in documentary spaces. I've been with the show Couples Therapy since 2020, so I feel very lucky with that. I'm a camera operator, screenwriter, and a director.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ameirah Neal. I identify as a Black trans woman here, living here in New York City, originally from Washington, D.C. I have my bachelor's degrees in fine arts from the International Academy of Design and Technology, which is located in Tampa, Florida. My main medium is acrylic on canvas. That's what I work with. Sometimes mixed media. My background is fashion design, so I like to incorporate that with a lot of my paintings as well. In regards to upcoming projects, unfortunately right now I don't have any upcoming projects, but that will happen in the future. So, yeah.
And we have one right behind you, upcoming project. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of us can appreciate queer visibility in art is really important. It's important to see yourself and see people that aren't like you represented in art, especially nowadays as it's being censored, as it's trying to be fought back in ways it has been historically. But I wanted to start us off with a quote from a queer author, George M. Johnson. This is a quote that I hold really dear. It really touched me at a time when I needed to hear it. It is, you sometimes don't know you exist until you realize someone like you existed before. So starting with that quote, I wanted everyone to go around and quickly share what is a piece of art that made you feel like you existed, and how does it impact your work today? So what's a piece of art that made you feel like you existed? And how does it impact your work today? I'll let whoever wants to go first.
I think I can take that one. So there is an artist. Her name is Faith. Her name is called Faith Rangold. I'm not sure if folks are familiar with Faith. Yes, and she is from Harlem, and she would do these beautiful. It was like quilts, but she would paint on the fabric, and it was all of these beautiful Black historic figures. She has this one painting where she's sitting at the table with like the heads of like female figures who helped like change history. And her artistry is just so beautiful. Oftentimes for me as a Black trans woman, I don't see a lot of representation, unfortunately, which is kind of discouraging, but I realize that I have my art and my creativity, and I realize that it's up to me to be the change that I want to seek. So although it's like small, although it may seem like there isn't much happening for me, I kind of keep that in my mind, in the front of my mind, like it starts with me. Like I am the change that I want to see. I am the artist. I will create. The universe will open up to me in some type of way.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
I guess I got.
Go ahead. Okay. I was very lucky to be able to see the movie. I saw the TV Glow. Right. At Sundance when it first came out. So I didn't know anything about it yet. And if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. And that is a movie that made me feel perhaps too seen. And too, what was the quote exactly?
Like you exist too much?
Yeah, I existed way too much
Funny.
watching that movie. But I think that it has really inspired me. Like I remember feeling as I was exiting that theater, like so amped. I was like, this is exactly the kind of filmmaking I want to do, that's able to capture such a like raw experience almost entirely through just like magical realism and like metaphor. And it's like, you know, it's a trans narrative, but at no point is it ever mentioned that anybody is trans in the movie. But it's like very evident. And I was just really captured by that way of filmmaking. And I look up to that director quite a bit.
All right. I think for me it was two people. Jamaica Kincaid, she's a writer.
Yes.
Antigone, I'm Jamaican, and her Caribbean stories have always inspired me. I think one of the stories that she wrote was Girl, and she was basically in the narrative talking about, well, this is how you clean the floor. This is how you sew a button so it stays on, and just thinking about the domestic life of women, particularly marginalized women, and I always was surrounded by women growing up. And for me, queerness, I saw Alexander McQueen. Alexander, I think, was one of the most incredible fashion designers. His work was both architectural, narrative-driven, and I thought that's the kind of thing I want to be a part of. I saw myself looking into photography and fashion and art and seeing how those things kind of talked about what does it really mean to be human? What does it really mean to create your own space? And what does it really mean to challenge yourself, not just with narrative and writing, but also using materials? What do the materials say as well? So
Beautiful.
Two things. When I was in high school and I saw Rent on Broadway for the first time, I remember there sitting with my dad and like people leaving the theater halfway through Act 1. And I was like, wow. And I like wasn't fully out then, but I just remember being like, this is art. This is so provocative. It's making people feel a certain way that they literally have to exit the theater. And that was deeply, deeply inspiring to me. Second thing, George Michael.
Woo!
That song, Jesus to a Child, that he wrote about his partner who died from AIDS, man, so inspiring that he was unapologetically himself. So those are my inspirations.
Similarly, I'm very much a theater queen, and what the first thing that came to mind was the first professional musical I ever saw, which was Children of Eden. This is why I come to Forefront, because Pastor Angela is a certified Broadway diva herself, so really that's what keeps me here. But but I remember seeing that, and it was really like the first like spiritual experience I think I had in a theater space. It's the story of, the first act is a story of Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, and the second act is the story of Noah and the ark. And so being like a church kid, but seeing this, I was probably 11 or 12, the soaring harmonies and tight choreography, that will always do it for me. But there's one song in the show that still sticks with me and honestly has become sort of like my spiritual ethos. Eve sings this song called The Spark of Creation, and it's just about the reality that we are not only created from God, but co-creators with God, that we are we are part and parcel with our lives, and part of creating the meaning that we are sort of casting in front of us. And so whether or not we are sort of like graphic artists or anything, we are all creators. And ultimately that is who we are. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that. I have a poem I'd like to say. It's about Stanley Kunitz. Well, it's by him, not about him. He was 73, I believe, when he wrote this poem. And when I first read it, I just was really struck. I've always had a big problem with change in my life, and he talks about that in here. I have walked through many lives, some of them my own, and I am not who I was, though some principle of being abides, from which I struggle not to stray. When I look behind, as I am compelled to look, before I can gather my strength to proceed on my journey, I see the milestones dwindling toward the horizon and the slow fires trailing from the abandoned campsites over which scavenger angels wheel on heavy wings. Oh, I have made myself a tribe out of my true affections, and my tribe is scattered. How shall the heart be reconciled to the feet of its losses? In a rising wind, the manic dust of my friends, those who fell along the way, bitterly stings my face. Yet I turn, exulting somewhat, with my will intact to go wherever I needed to go, and every stone on the road precious to me. In my darkest night, when the moon was covered and I roamed through wreckage, a nimbus-clouded voice directed me. Live in the layers, not on the litter. Though I lack the art to decipher it, no doubt the next chapter in my book of transformations is already written. I am not done with my changes. Just a beautiful poem, and I wanted to share that because that keeps me going as an artist.
Beautiful. Yeah, so it's really cool how we're coming from different backgrounds, different disciplines. And I think a really interesting question to ask is so we're talking a lot about identity, we're talking about how those things infuse everything. And I think it's interesting to ask, how do the intersections of your identities as artists inform the type of art you do, like your medium or maybe your focus? Maybe Laur, you could just come from the poem and answer that question.
Yeah, I think dealing with change and also community has been really what I'm centering my art around, and my intersectionalities of that, of growing up in New York, being a New Yorker, being a churchgoer, someone that's constantly surrounded by people, and also in high school, finding out that I'm queer. I've been surrounded with such vibrant communities, and that has just taken over my artwork in a massive way. My thesis this past semester was about community and about the discovery and interactions between people and letting people do their thing and helping people and just all the ideas that surround community. And I think growing up with all of those communities around me is really what inspired me to include that and be the center point of my artwork. I believe it's the most important thing that we have, and if I'm going to be an artist, it's what I have to fight for, you know?
Beautiful. Does anyone else want to answer that question?
Yeah. I think, like I mentioned at the beginning, sort of like trying to pick one sort of thing was always difficult for me. I think for so many of us, you know, having all these different interests and all these things. But I think it can kind of be encapsulated, like how all the different kind of layers of my identity come together. Is that I'm working on like a solo theater piece right now that is inspired by my discovery of ancestors that lived in New York 100 years ago, particularly one with whom I share a birthday. So I discovered this just doing some genealogy research, but it just coincided with my own journey coming out of the church and the closet and sort of rediscovering who I am and how I exist in the world, like where I really belong. And as I was on that journey of belonging, I uncovered these ancestors and this one, again, with whom I share a birthday. So as an astrologer and working in, you know, ancestor work, that was such a huge and profound thing. And so, again, as a church kid, too, like the power of testimony and the power of storytelling and a powerful sermon has always been ingrained in me. And so kind of melding that into a theater piece, into, you know, sort of an exorcism, into an altar call, all at the same time, I think is really the beauty and the power of theater. So it all kind of comes together in that for me.
Beautiful. Maybe Hanif, do you have a thought on this? So many mediums, so many intersections.
Sure. Yeah, I haven't picked any either. I think this lends to the point of the process. It's not so much choosing a medium, but it's thinking, how can I amplify what is it that I'm trying to say in a meaningful way with the medium that I'm working with? Right. And I mean, as you're talking about this idea of ancestry, I've been thinking a lot about the cotton tree and this idea of being trapped inside of the tree. Stifling our own voices. And I think about Bob Marley, for instance, where he says, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. And I think about what it really means to be in a state of mental enslavement. Wow. And thinking about what does it mean to decolonize and what does it mean to rebuild. You know, we talk a lot about deconstruction, but how do we reconstruct? And in a meaningful way, and in a way that we are also interrogating ourselves and being willing to interrogate ourselves. One of the processes that I found is very important is writing and having others read your work and be thoughtful and critical about it and being open to that process. So I did a short film on colorism centered around a black girl in downtown Kingston who is watching her older sister skin bleach. And skin bleaching is a process where you're basically destroying the complexion of your skin to look whiter, right? And in writing that, I mean, I'm not a woman. I ain't black fully. I have a whole lot of mixtures. And in Jamaica, they would see me and think, well, what's your authorship? And so in thinking about my own family, my grandmother was, you know, a maroon, and they're very dark. And my great-grandmother was very dark, but my grandmother, she dissociated herself from her because she was too black. And in Jamaica, they have that, right? Anything too black, not good. And so using that as a narrative and thinking about how can you write a story that is, you know, thinking about how people are experiencing their own traumas, how are they reinterpreting it, and thinking about the vicious cycle of generational traumas, you know. So, yeah.
Beautiful, yeah. Yeah, I feel like the stories and the form and the content, it's so beautiful how those can be like married and meet And of course, we are at church right now, technically, so I would love to ask a question about God and how that relates to our artistic practice. So maybe some of us who didn't answer the first question, does your artistry connect to intimacy with God, and in what ways? Yes.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Oh, yeah, of course. Okay, so does your artistry connect to intimacy with God, and in what ways?
Absolutely, my artistry connects with intimacy with God. First off, I've always believed God to be more so. So when we talk about the Creator, we talk about both masculinity and femininity embodied in one. So for me, my understanding had always was, I believe that God would take a form of a feminine being, an entity, or whatever you would like to call it, and my artwork is a reflection of that. So a lot of the times in my work, I use different colors, as you'll see. I use different colors to show the divinity of God, to show what is the word? The divinity of God is exactly what I'm looking for. So that is how my artwork correlates with my spiritual and God itself. Also, I think whenever you take something out of yourself and you put it into form, like you've created something. To me, that's God within itself, to be able to create. And I'm sorry, I'm getting tongue twisted, so yeah, that's it.
Beautiful.
Sorry, I have to pull up my notes. So I think that film is really special to me because, especially documentary, though it's not exclusive to it, there's a lot of making sure you get people in these small, quiet moments. And I think for me, God is often the soft, still voice. And I feel very strongly with Doc this desire to like really see people and get other people to see them in a way, and I hope this doesn't sound crazy and condescending, but like the way that God sees them, not because they're being made to be to seem better than they are, but just to be seen completely and fully, like with all of their mess, and to like love them for it and love them for exactly who they are, which includes the hardest parts, the most fragile parts, even the like nasty parts sometimes. It's like really love them. And I have of course, a James Baldwin quote from Another Country, which is, "So what can we really do for each other except just love each other and be each other's witness?" Right. And so that really compels me because I feel like this incredible desire to witness people and to be witnessed, of course, and to like, I think film can really be with people and witness them and like hold them to the light in a way that is not to be critical, but is just to show them for who they are and to make them feel seen.
Have we all finished The Artist Way? Because I can't finish it. Firstly. You
I
finished
finished
it?
it,
Amanda,
so-
this is why you're the moderator.
That's why I'm leading this.
Literally. Whoever, when I got to half of that book, I mean, the first literal 15 pages, like, Julia Cameron is like, you are a creator. God created you. When you create is the best gift you can give back to God. I wanted to bring up this, so Free Bretney, this is the first time I've ever produced anything. And being a recovering people pleaser, we have a lot of people on our team, one of our producers that is very familiar with film, starting new series, very familiar. So in one ear, I feel like I'm like, she has a lot of experience, I need to listen to her. And God shows up for me in this whole process. For example, this story is about, it's a 10-episode web series about a gay evangelical man who is desperately trying to stay in the closet. As we've been marketing it, we go back and forth sometimes. I think we're on a good page now. But some of my team would be like, it's a coming out story. And I'm like, it's not a coming out story. Like, it is in a way, but we love coming out stories. It's beautiful. But it's more nuanced than that. This is a seed of an experience I personally went through in the pandemic. I was out fully as a gay man and found myself in the middle of a very conservative evangelical cult, I would say, and second guessing who I was. And I had this like ping in my stomach every time we talked about marketing, because I would be like, you guys, the niche of this story and why I think it will sell is because we're talking about like the roots of Christian nationalism, but also we're talking about I was fully out and like proud of who I was before I let these people really get in my head. So I'm like, we've kind of settled in like, I'm like forcing myself back into the closet as like a marketing tool. And so God has really showed up for me when these moments of like, yeah, I'm inexperienced. However, this I can't seem to let go. And I will like fight my team and be like, guys, it's not just a traditional coming out story. This is so much deeper. And I really want to highlight people like Forefront that are doing literally the Lord's work, progressive Christianity. And this is how God shows up for me and has literally developed this series for me, I can say. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. I think I kind of want to end on a note. Because we're called Queerly Creative, that's what we decided to call this panel. You know, it wouldn't be good practice not to try and think about what does it mean to queer as a verb, you know, like what it means to be an artist. And I think it's so easy for us to fall into, especially in New York, being like, well, you're not really an artist unless you pay your rent, or if you have this award, or if you have a degree. You know, it's so competitive, which is a beautiful thing about New York, but also like, Joel and I were talking right before this about how the creative act isn't like just a job or this one vocation some people do. It's something we all do to interpret reality. You know, storytelling is like hardwired in how we take the raw material of our lives and make sense of it in different ways. And so, yeah, I want to be like, everyone go forth and like actually consider yourself artistic and creative and value your point of view, because like the act of being a subject, especially when maybe you feel like objectified in different ways for different identities we have, is really important. But yeah, now we're just gonna go around really quick. Maybe we'll just go in a line rapid fire and share how this audience can support or just follow you, and keep up with all this really cool stuff everyone is referencing.
All right. First, I have a resource. Well, I guess that's my website. That's my resource. I had a class, Artists in the Marketplace, and we read a lot of this book. I'm putting it out as a resource, as though, even though I didn't feel like it was what I needed for myself, I understand that it's very helpful to get started. It gives you like outlines of what you need and how to do it, and like tips and tricks on like getting into the world of like mostly like painting, but the art world. So I wanted to shout that out first. You can best support me though, by either going to my website. I have it right here. There's a QR code. It's Laur Jerlin, so my name, .myportfolio.com. You can ask me after the service as well, write it down for you. But I have a contact link for commissions. Ask me to do art. I do all of it. I love art, and I want to do it for you.
Woo!
So there's that. And also at FIT right now in the Pomerantz lobby, my thesis is in the Making Grounds exhibition until September 8th. And so please visit that. It's a giant sculpture, and I think part of the audio recording I have forefront singing, so you get to hear a bit of that too, a bit of home.
Where is this again? Just repeat where it is.
This is at FIT, so the Fashion Institute of Technology. It'll be in the Pomerantz lobby. It's like big glass windows. It's 27th and 7th. Yes,
Right.
Shout out my mom. Thank you, Mom. Okay, that's it for me.
You can support my series at Free Brittany Show on Instagram. If you forget, I have business cards. I want to talk about this for a second. Like I said, we're in a fundraising season right now. We're planning on filming next year. For fundraising, we're planning on starting an underground gay mafia where we spread these cards all across Manhattan. I have a stack of them. If you want to take 5 and leave it at a queer coffee shop or a non-queer coffee shop, that would be even better. Not only is this like a web series, but I've also gotten to sit down with a lot of incredible pastors of a lot of progressive churches in New York. We launched our fundraiser with an industry reading at Judson Memorial, which we do work with. Reverend Micah was one of the actors in it. They were unreal. I'm really trying to not only make this web series, but create like an underground movement where a lot of these progressive churches in New York can really unite. I think a lot of us do a lot of good work, and I just want everybody to come together, especially in the city, and kind of get behind this story and Jesus. Thank you.
Okay, I'm still getting my grounding in New York because I'm new, but you can follow me on Instagram. I am Hanif James, and I don't know what is up there.
Wait,
but
and
nothing
just spell
up
it
there.
out so people can type it in
Sure.
their phone right now.
IAMHANIFJAMES. So I am Hanif James. I also wanted to touch on something you had mentioned about queerness in its relation to art. I do think that queerness also needs to be a way of thinking and a method of making. So, not just reframing how we are viewing queerness, but also thinking about it as an iterative process, going back and forth, really interrogating and questioning how we think, why we think the way we think, and then making that, right? Testing that, making a model or doing a film or writing, trying to find methods of making that a real thing. So, yeah.
Deep.
Oh, I guess I'll go next. Hi again, it's me, Ameirah. Unfortunately, I don't have anything upcoming. However, I have been trying to plan my first solo exhibition. Beautiful. So that's going to require a gallery space. So that's where I'm at now. So if any of you find people would know any gallery spaces, if you know anyone who would be accepting a new emerging artist to do a solo exhibit, please let them know. I have tons of artwork that's just sitting in my bedroom. It's just sitting. I'm ready to put it up on the wall. You can follow me on Instagram at Neal, Neal. Again, that's Neal, Neal. And that's on Instagram. Thank you, guys.
Beautiful.
I'm bad at Instagram, so you can follow me, but it's mostly my cat. But that is where I would post about a new project. But honestly, the most helpful thing you can do is to stream Couples Therapy on Paramount+. New season did just drop, and that show keeps my bills paid, so I want it renewed. But other than that, in terms of like personal projects, I have a couple things in development right now. If you see a grant please send it my way. I will apply for it. You can fund me as much as you want, or you can collaborate with me. I really would genuinely love to just keep having fun. And as has been touched on before, it's easy to get lost in New York in the gig-focused, how am I gonna pay the bills way of looking at art. And every single time that I just have a fun afternoon with an actor or another camera person, just shooting stuff because it's pretty, I remember that I love it. So if you want to get your portraits done or your headshots done, please come to me. Please hire me. I will be available at the end of our season at the end of July, and I will be ready to work. Please.
I love that it is money, please. That's my first reaction. Ooh, please. I am developing this show as well, and I'm hoping to produce it in the fall, this solo piece, this cabaret piece. So there will be more information. I'll probably dropping it in the chats and things later. But also just wanted to share that I'm part of a sort of unofficial little collective, but we're putting on Solstice in the Park today. Today is the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, the first day of Cancer season. And this evening in Prospect Park, where it's a whole parade, pageant, there's going to be a drum circle, different games and activities, flower crown making, and all sorts of things. So if you want to come celebrate, it's open to all, free to the community, all ages. It'll be, I'll put it back in the chat I did the other day, but it'll be starting at 4 o'clock in the park. The exact location will be there, but I'll be sharing a little astrological cosmic meditation with the group, and it'll close out with a sound bath at sunset. So if that's your vibe, we'll be putting that on later.
Wow, and all that for $0?
$0.
That's amazing.
Because somebody gave them money. Yeah.
Okay, well, that was awesome. The film that I shot a little bit at Forefront, I'm editing right now. It's called, very long title, I Am Your Worst Fear, I'm Your Best Fantasy. Also about an evangelical that's like, hey guys, I'm not gay. So, that I have an Instagram for that there will be more stuff shared on at IAM your YOUR WFBF film. So long, why did I do that? Okay. This was awesome. Thank you to all of our panelists for sharing your art, your heart, your story. And